everyone. Welcome back. This is the Spot Real Talk special edition. We're doing obviously our what is it called? Corona Chronicles Happy Hours.
Quarantine happy hour. Yeah, Quarantine Chronicles
Happy
happy hour.
hour quarantine.
Yes.
Yeah,
And today, as you can probably see, we have a special guest with us.
a longtime friend who has just joined us again, which we always love to have her commentary.
Hi guys. I'm the designated.
Plus, we gotta remember that LaWanda is our Atlanta correspondent. Remember when we first started?
If you are an OG follower of us from back in the day, then you remember LaWanda.
Definitely. And by the way, this is my version of Long Island iced tea, a little Ciroc peach with some iced tea. Y'all gonna make me a lush. I mean, I'm just gonna be all messed up.
Well, I'm still sticking to my mango and Malibu with a little splash of ginger ale. That's my favorite.
Well, I'm just polishing off the bottle of rosé. I was gonna try something new, but it was a little bit left, so let me go ahead and polish it off.
Okay.
All right. So in a second, we're gonna get into Self-Made. If you haven't seen it already, this is a warning. Stop the recording. Stop the view. You might want to wait until you've seen it and then pick us up later. But if you have seen it, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it a little in depth. We're going to give you the pros and cons, the truths and faults about the show. But, you know, that's how we do. This is the Spot Real Talk. We'll be back in 2 and 2.
Louisiana where the last one burnt you. Know that ain't cool. Wanna show you how I'm nothing like him. Swear that's the truth. You can't trust that I won't.
All right, so we are back, and like Ron said, we are talking about Self-Made. It is a mini series on Netflix. Loosely, I don't know how we can say it's not a biopic, but it is inspired by the life of Madam C.J. Walker. It is executive produced by Octavia Spencer. Also, LeBron James had an EP credit on there. I don't know if y'all spotted that, him and Maverick. And it features Octavia Spencer, Blair Underwood, Tiffany Haddish, amongst many others. So they kind of have a really good all-star lineup, and I was really excited to watch it, just seeing who was involved.
It's an adaptation also of the great-great-grandmother of C.J. Walker. Her
granddaughter. Her granddaughter. It was one of her granddaughters that did the.
Yeah, you said grandmother.
Did I say grandmother?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was from her bio on her own ground that they adapted the Netflix series.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think about it?
Well, on the surface, like just kind of looking at it, on the surface level, it was a very, I would say it was a good movie. I love the costume design. I thought that the outfits and even the hairstyling was on point. You know, me, I am into the hair. I have a license. I'm not practicing, but I am licensed. So I was just like all into the hair and the makeup and then the costume design, the visuals of it. Yeah, so I think that they were on point there. That's kind of what really intrigued me about it. And then just the inspiring nature of the story. It was very inspirational for someone to see how, you know, one generation removed away from slavery, how Madam C.J. Walker was able to climb her way to success. But then I kind of started doing some digging, and after learning a little bit more about the facts and some of the embellishments that were happening in the Netflix series, I kind of was a little disappointed after the fact.
Well, would you say that the embellishment actually took away from the storyline?
For Madam C.J. Walker, no. For the character of Addie Monroe, who was, I believe, they don't say it out front, but they kind of based the character Addie Monroe on the real life person who was Annie Malone.
Right.
And she was kind of the mentor, well, not even mentor. She gave Madam C.J. Walker her first shot at being a sales agent for her hair company. And so I think that for Madam C.J. Walker, this was it was great for her story, but for the family of the real life Annie Malone, I would have been pissed because they kind of trashed her legacy.
Well, what do you think, Luanda? The bio, what's her name, Bundles? Her bio mentioned, it did say that she may have taken some information from Addie's product formula, but they couldn't determine if it were an exact copy, so it said. What do you think overall?
You know, I think, first of all, let me tell you what I did like about it before I offer a critique. So anytime I see that many Black faces on screen, I'm always excited and happy to see it.
That's how I felt too.
Yeah, so I'm always happy to see it. It's just, I guess I'm always really concerned about how we see ourselves and how we portray ourselves, particularly when we're the ones that's telling the story. So we have a lot of responsibility to make sure that our portrayals are accurate and that the characters are fully developed, so you see a whole person. So if fact or fiction, whether or not Madam C.J. Walker allegedly borrowed the recipe for the formula, I think it's the way they told it. Because if it was maybe coming from another perspective, it'll be how they were neck and neck in business. Yeah. But this was something else. So it was because they were African American, because they were women, it became more catty, more about jealousy, more about colorism, rather than people being two really business competitors. And being
very strong business women.
Yeah. And they could have played up the business savvy on both of their parts. Yeah. And I just think that kind of got reduced because, there's an argument to be made that there are like 1,000 different types of lotion. Nobody's fighting over who makes lotion, but it's more about who makes the best lotion. You know what I mean? And so there's an argument to say that maybe she did take the recipe, but like she said, she improved it. She made it better. And I think that's allowed. They just could have really just played up, I think, the part of them just being real competitive in business.
I immediately thought about the Facebook story because if you watch the social network, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, that was not his idea. He had an idea, but the twins were the ones that came up with the idea. Zuckerberg just embellished the idea, and he was the one that blew Facebook up. And that's what I thought about when I watched this movie. So maybe she did, maybe she did not, use the formula, but she enhanced it.
But just like you said, Luanda, enhancements, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if you make an enhancement to a product, that is patentable, is it not?
Yes.
So the word on the street is that, back then there were a lot of hair solutions that were available. It wasn't something that was a secret. It was something that a lot of people were doing kind of like individually, but what they did is they actually made it a product and popularized it. So it's not something that was a secret, whether they copied each other or not. People knew about hair bombs and things like that before they even came out with their product. It's just that they put a brand to it and a face to it and made their door-to-door sales, which really garnered them their success.
Yeah, she was a much more savvy businesswoman or saleswoman.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
what I did, I'm sorry.
Wait, Tim.
I was going to say what I did appreciate about Madam C.J. Walker is that she was encouraging Black women to love themselves as they were, as opposed to, at least in the movie, Addie Mae, whatever her name was, she was saying, oh, if you use these products, you're going to look like me, as opposed to us, Black women loving ourselves the way we are.
And I wasn't sure how factual that was. And I know because they really played up the colorism, like LaWanda was saying. And I kind of if that's not true, that does more damage than anything.
It does.
In the
Um,
bio, in fact, the bio said that she was an excellent salesperson for Addie. So it wasn't, and that was the part I didn't like once I understood the truth or found out the truth. You got two powerful Black women during that era. And rather than, give it a sense of rivalry between the two and let it play out as two powerful Black women, you were always putting one down for the other.
yeah.
And going back and forth. And, that's the part that kind of really bothered me, because obviously back then you didn't have that many women, Black or white, that could stand toe to toe with either one of them in terms of business acumen. So, because women at that time were really purely responsible for their husbands and their children.
Yeah.
So you have these two very powerful Black women, and you had to put one down for the other just to make a show. And I'm not wondering, could we have done justice with the show by having both powerful women showing who they really are and be just as entertaining without having to put one of the other down?
And it kind of reminds me of that lyric from Jay-Z's song where he kind of says, "What's better than one millionaire?" too. Okay, yeah. So it's like, right. It doesn't have to be only one spot available. It's about uplifting both. And from what I have researched, it seems as though both women really were self-made. Although there are arguments about who was the millionaire first. I mean, it doesn't matter who did it first. I mean, the point is that was, like I said, one generation removed from slavery. That was a huge accomplishment back in those days to make it that far. So I felt like this documentary could have, not a documentary, but the series, it could have done a better job at celebrating both of them without having to put down one to let the other shine.
And if I'm not mistaken, didn't C.J. Walker kind of work in the fields too at one point?
Yeah, they were both orphaned at a young age, both her and Annie. They were both children of slaves. They came from very humble beginnings, concocted their own recipes for the product and sold it. And despite what the movie says, Annie Malone actually did hire Madam C.J. Walker to work for her. And so I was like, why did they feel the need to make it seem like she really had it out for her, like following her around from town to town and moving where she moved? It was like they really was playing up the
they took some creative liberties, I think.
A whole lot. And I'm like, it was so uncalled for, because think about a child or somebody who doesn't get taught and doesn't even, not even a child, adults too, who don't go and do their research and they only watch this Netflix series. They're going to see this and take it for like face value. They're going to say like, this is the story. Exactly. And so that's why I thought it was damaging, because chances are a lot of people are not going to go and do their homework. They're going to rely on this series as fact. And I thought that was damaging.
And we're not blasting the show, but believe it or not, we want you to see the show, and it is a good series. Do watch it. But we are trying to bring out some of the inconsistencies about the show, and then just ask the question, why do we do what we do all the time? When we have control, why don't we take full control and tell our story the way it's supposed to be told?
Yeah, I agree. LaWanda, I know when you and I talked offline, you had some interesting viewpoints about how the Black men in the show were depicted.
Yeah, I do. And I go back to looking at it. It kept saying it was inspired by her story, but I'm like, it had to be inspired by some other things, because typically the way that you see Black men portrayed, they're either abusive or they're weak or they're criminal. You never see accurate portrayals of Black men that you recognize as the Black men in your lives, right? There's always some negative characteristic that they play upon. Like, you can tell a story about the couple having trouble in their marriage, even the infidelity, without showing him being abusive, and it's these choices that it's these the stereotypes and the tropes that they continue to play about Black men. And it's not just Self-Made. There are other shows on TV that if you sit and you watch, you just always notice that either you emasculate the Black man, he's abusive, he's criminal, they're one-dimensional characters. If they're shown as intelligent, then they're aloof. They don't, they're not in touch with their emotions. If they're too emotions, then they're almost buffoonish. And I think it's disturbing when you see a show where African Americans are in control and African American women, that is this the way we not only we show ourselves, but is this how we see ourselves still, that we can't be aspirational. We can't be aspirational in our in the images that we put out there for people to see, right? It's not almost saying that, okay, this is how it is, but there's a certain aspect of film and media that's aspirational. This is how we want to be. This is how we want to see ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And look what they tried to do with Booker T. Washington. They made
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
You know, they made him out of a sexist when actually that's not what he, you know, what he was. What he basically was concerned with about her product was whether or not Madam C.J. Walker was trying to make Black women look like white women with straight, long, pretty hair. And I think that, you know, once he was able to meet with C.J. Walker and find out that that wasn't the case at all, she was just trying to say that we're all, you know, all Black women are beautiful. And you don't have to walk around with nappy head and whatever, you know, just because, you know, you're out there hustling and doing whatever you were doing. So you're right. It's the portrayal of Black men. I love horror pictures, and in horror pictures, we're always the first to go. And if we're not, it's because we're rather buffoonish. We're acting like clowns, but we still, if somebody's got to go in a horror picture, first the Black man, he's gone first. And I used to always ask myself, why is that? But hey, I digress. Sorry. Let's get back on the show.
And you know what? On the topic of the Black men, because I was actually really impressed with how they portrayed CJ, her husband, starting off, as he was so supportive. He was there for her. He was a ride or die. And then it just got progressively worse. And I was like, oh, okay, this is where we're going with this.
He really became low down. Like, dang. Yeah. Like, it wasn't just infidelity. He, like, you know, ratted her out. That she took the formula. I mean, it was low down.
Yes. And then they weaved the colorism back into it with him cheating on CJ with the Dora girl, the lighter skinned woman. And it was just like, oh my God, like they are really gonna hammer this in.
It's this color thing. I mean, we really got to get over this color boundary, you know, between light and dark and all this other stuff.
But it still exists though.
Like it's hard to say, you know, and I think that's really where the problem lies, is because we are exactly that way. You know, we're that way in reality. And I, being the only male on the show, let me just say, I love all my complexion Black men. And I'm gonna tell you, I was some gorgeous people, period. So I'll say that before somebody else.
Oh, sorry. I seen it again with CJ's father. You remember when he was trying to tell him that he was making a mistake by, you know, having wandering eyes? He was trying to warn him ahead of time.
He did.
He was being very stand up in that moment. And then they brought it back to his own relationship with his mother and how she left, like she was a slave and she ran away. And I was like, where are they going with this? Because I thought for a second they were about to say that he ratted her out and told that she ran off. But then they kind of cleaned it up and said that, you know, she got killed trying to come back to them. So I was like, okay. So there is at least one Black male in this show that has like some consistency in how they portrayed him. And even in the helper, I forgot his name, but he was kind of like her business partner and helping her.
But again, he had a little sense of weakness about him, and you know, timidness. I suppose I would say. And it goes right back to your point, LaWanda, about what you were saying. We got about 10 minutes left, guys, so you know we can start trying to wrap this thing up. You know,
well, nobody was weaker than Tiffany Haddish's husband. I mean,
John.
He was a soft punk if I ever saw one. I mean, he was soft, and then he was running to the competition, and then he was being emasculated because Tiffany was carrying on the affair, you know, right under his face, you know.
And her mom didn't help it at all. She was like his mama.
Well, I mean, actually, he was emasculated from day one.
He was.
And that.
On the topic of Tiffany Haddish's character, Alelia, wow. So the fact that she was even into women, that was up for debate, and some people felt a way about that because they're like, you know, why does the homosexuality always have to be brought into everything? And it's like they're pushing it on us. I wasn't sure how to feel about that because I couldn't confirm nor deny that actually happened. So I don't know.
Well, the biography says that after she was married 3 times and with men, and then after that third marriage, she did have some sort of relationship. Didn't say exactly what with a female, and it kind of left it there. But again, just like you said, yeah, it is pushed on us. I mean, we understand the reality of this world. I mean, homosexuality is here. You can call it what you like. And I don't think either one of us has a problem with it. It's just that everything doesn't have to, it's just so in your face that it just makes you wonder what's really behind it all.
What's the agenda?
Yeah, what's the agenda? Is this a movement? And so it has to be included in everything? Or is it just, it just sometimes doesn't seem like it's real. It just seems like it's just placed in to make a point, of what we know to be reality today.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, when I first seen it, I had seen it without reading any reviews or anything, or without doing any, research. All I went into the situation with was what I had learned from my teachings in school. And so I would, like I said, on the surface level, it's real well written, it's well directed, the costume design, the hair, everything was on point. But just digging a little deeper, you come out and you're like,
that music.
Okay, yeah, we got to talk about the music. I was like, I don't know why they keep doing this with period pieces. Like, this is not the current times. We don't need hip hop music and period pieces. What is going on?
I think that is a trend because I know when I saw The Great Gatsby, the remake of The Great Gatsby, they had a little hip hop, Jay-Z had done the soundtrack.
We said the same thing about Godfather Harlem. His soundtrack was on point. I like the way they did it.
So much. Yeah, it should be music of that time, but I think it just reflects, whoever is producing it and everything. I don't mind it so much as long as you have something.
I agree with you.
I just think the music didn't match. Like, how they do it in Godfather Harlem, it's like rap, but with a classic style.
Yes.
But when you come to this and it's just like all hip hop and popping all over the place, and it's like it seems almost like it's too fast for the scene.
Yeah.
It didn't fit the tone. They had to.
No, right.
Yeah.
Right. But LaWanda, you look like you were getting ready to say something while Tiara was talking, so I want to yield the floor to you for a minute.
Oh, I was just gonna make the comment when we were talking about Tiffany Haddish's character that it did seem like it was agenda setting because it made the story more central. Then I think even what if you read the magazines, what they talk about, that may have been an aspect to her life, but was it the central focus of her life? I don't know. That's why it feels like agenda setting. Same thing with the colorism, same thing with the male bashing. I love seeing us. I love to hear our stories. I just want to not that we have to be one dimensional, that we're all flawless, because that's not true. We're all human, but to make it more even tone and not to see us see us full bodied and in full color, But it's always that thing. Hopefully it's like that. What's interesting about this series is that the things that people talk about, I think without doing the research, you still felt like, is that true? It was something about the portrayal that I think people immediately had a reaction to that made you go, wait a minute, let me go look up the real story because something about this is still authentic.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is too, I mean, as long as her story's been out, we've never heard of anything like that. So, once it's depicted on the screen, you begin to question, well, why haven't I heard of this before? So you're right. It was something that was rather new to me, and it almost gave me reason to look and see if it's any truth to it.
And I don't know. Oh, go ahead, Tiffany.
I was gonna say, I know when I researched the Ilya character, what I read is that she used to have all those parties, like they said, but they could
Yeah,
not
she
quite
did.
confirm whether
Right.
she was gay or not or whatever. They said it was everybody in attendance, and she did throw a lot of gay parties, and they mentioned that, you know, Langston Hughes attended a lot of them either. And, you know, there was always questions about his sexuality too, but that was never confirmed. And so, I never got any concrete evidence that she had that type of lifestyle. Not that it matters, but, you know, like LaWanda said, for it to be so front and center,
Right.
like it was the absolute truth.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, based on the people that are involved in this, I would hope that they would have done their due diligence and make sure that what they were representing on screen was at least based on something. But
well, they said it was supposed to be based on a granddaughter's book,
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, but they like you said, they took a lot of liberties. And in the words of what Charlemagne be saying, you know, he's always like, nobody cares about the truth when the lie is more entertaining.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that, I mean, that seemed like what they were going for, because it was entertaining. And there was definitely some falsities in there. So I think that's the only reason why I came out a little disappointed, because it's not like her true life story was lackluster. I mean, they had plenty of other things they could have put on screen, especially Madam C.J. Walker herself. I talk about her in the Addie Malone character, and there's some speculation that, you know, although Addie Malone kind of started up a lot of the stuff with the hair care company and became the first millionaire supposedly, but they say that Madam C.J. Walker got a lot of the shine because obviously she marketed her products well. Her husband was in, you know, the newspaper ad business, and they promoted it well. But also they said that her life was just like that interesting. In the short period of time that she lived, she had such an amazing life that she just got all the shine. So I'm like, well, there was no lack in material for them to go off of. They could have.
Another thing too is that they said that she had 3 brothers that were barbers, so that's how she learned about hair, through her brothers. So hey, you know, she came legit to me.
I think it's also important, like I don't know that much about the other character, Addie, but the fact that she built her own factory and she was manufacturing her product on large scale. And and this is what I need to go back and research. Where did she get the model for the salesman? Were other people doing that? Because it sounded a lot like Amon to me, or Mary Kay.
Are y'all seeing on screen? We got less than a minute.
Yeah,
All
we.
right. So we might have to continue this in the comments, but you guys make sure you follow us on Spot Real Talk on Instagram, Facebook, and our Twitter. Subscribe and like this video, and continue in the comments. Let us know what you thought about Self-Made. Any closing comments from you guys before we sign off?
Other than the fact that I enjoy this time that we have, you know, in this semi-quarantine type, whatever you want to call it, shut in, what have you. I'm enjoying it a bit. You know, streets are quiet, there's no crime. What can I say? You know, I'm taking a full hard advantage of it.
Okay.
Same here. I'm happy to join all of you while we're shutting place, and I'm happy to see LaWanda virtually.
Definitely.
Thanks. I'm glad she was able to join us today.
Oh, thanks for the invite. I enjoyed it as well.
And LaWanda, you're now in a new location. You're in Texas, correct?
Yeah, I'm back home. I'm in Fort Worth.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Is it hot down there?
Not yet. Surprisingly, no. It's supposed to be like 90 maybe in a couple of days, like by Wednesday or Thursday. But yeah.
Wow.
Weather is crazy here. It was like 49 over the weekend, and I was like, where am I?
Okay, well, great. Thank you guys so much for joining us for the Spot Real Talk Quarantine Chronicles and our happy hour situation. We will be back with another episode, and next we are discussing a fan favorite, Ozark, on Netflix. I don't think you guys are going to want to miss that one, because there is so much to talk about with that series.
Please.
Yes, I was up to 5 a.m. watching Ozark.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But it's crazy good too. So if you get a chance.
I was too. I did a marathon, and I was like, I could go to sleep, but I couldn't.
It is that good.
Indeed.
So, guys, make sure you follow us online at The Spot Real Talk on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Subscribe on our YouTube channel, comment, click the notification bell so that you're notified the next time we post a video. And make sure you are here next couple days for our Ozark recap. You are not going to want to miss that.
Definitely.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.